the gate yet.
Let's go.
Oh
ATL,
my
what's up,
goodness.
AT? Oh
Let's
yeah,
go. I'm trying to shake
Hey,
baby.
hey, that diddly nickname is absolutely hilarious to me. So how's y'all's week been?
It actually went by kind of fast. I'm not mad at it at all.
yeah. It seemed like the time just going by fast as well. I don't know if it's just because I got too much activities going on or what, but yeah,
Yeah,
flew by this week. I'm
okay.
like, wonder what up with you, cuz?
Oh, um, just working, got my kids with me, and
Hey,
I
Manny.
was I was I was watching my son play Minecraft, and I just watched him for a little bit, and it dawned on me. He was Minecraft is like kids playing God. They creating stuff, and they got
Mhm.
oceans and houses and populations, and he making these little things go straight to war.
Uh-huh.
They ah, I was like, oh my God! Even in his oceans, like he put pufferfish right next to dolphins. I said they enemies. Back up, my man. I was like, what?
Come in and do the jig on you.
He did. Like, why is he doing this? What's gotten into him? But I thought about that. I was like, man, if that's what a kid would do with creation,
Hey,
Man,
that's
it'll
hey.
be
trouble.
fine.
Check
Yeah.
this October Queen. It is my birthday month.
Yes,
It
it
is
is. Yes, it is.
month. It's my
Yeah.
birthday. The October Queen is in the
Yeah.
building. Get to my name tonight, October Queen.
Oh, you got to change your name to that thing. At
Yeah,
least the sub headline.
should have done it. I should have.
Yeah. Shout
But
out to my big sister. Shout out to
yeah,
Key.
yesterday
What to do, cuz?
or two
Happy
days ago.
birthday. 2 days ago for her. Yeah, you're right.
Okay.
Oh
Oh, happy
man.
Okay.
to your sister,
Dang.
Manny. What's her name? Shout out Libra season, Libra Nation. Let's go.
Let's go. Jameer birthday on the 24th of this month.
Building. You said what dirt?
I said Jameer birthday the 24th
Man,
of this
it's
month.
everybody's
Uh,
birthday.
you almost made it. You almost made it. Happy birthday, Rosalind.
I'm drink to that.
Absolutely.
I'll
Absolutely.
drink
Happy birthday. Mm.
so good.
Happy birthday. I should have played the birthday song, but well, hold on. It might not be too late.
Ooh,
This will be for y'all.
it's gonna
Y'all
be
ready?
gone
Here
before
we go.
we get going. We can't hear it, but that's okay.
Oh, y'all couldn't hear it?
Not really.
Bitch, the pizza over here.
Yeah, that's a good song.
Yeah,
It's a great birthday
interesting.
song.
Yeah, I ain't
Yeah.
heard that rendition. Good. All right.
Oh.
Nah.
Who
All
was
right.
that?
I'm gonna have to say that again, Wanda.
I said, who was that?
Oh, that's a Beatles happy birthday song.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
Beatles.
Old,
Beat
old, old happy birthday song. Let me get back to my regular sentence before I
accepting all
forget.
lunches, brunches, breakfasts, dinners, cash
Oh,
apps,
that's right.
videos, all month. So you know,
All that.
all
All
month
that. Oh, I
we
forgot
doing.
to I forgot to send a link to somebody. So this week's topic, does the landscape of hip hop reflect black reality or reality in general? Not just black reality, but reality in general. Right. And
Mm,
I think that's at this point for the last diddly do month or two,
Diddly do.
Yeah, I had to do it. I had to do it.
The
Uh,
diddle. Jesus.
yes, yes. We've been plagued by the goings on of Diddy and Cardi getting her lick back, and all. The question becomes, what does this is this like a reflection of what happens in real life? Is the music, is the culture, is that scene a reflection of what real life looks like? What do y'all think?
I mean, real life is pretty much whatever you make it at this point. Uh, yeah, because people are hearing these songs now and like, hey, if they can do it, I can do it, pretty much. So I'm definitely gonna
Okay.
say,
I think it's a reflection of the culture, hip hop, I should say. I think hip hop is a reflection of the culture, mainly because a lot of them guys are rich. That's what a lot of the young boys and young women set out to be. You know what I'm saying?
and anyway,
Yeah. They done made it. You know what I'm saying? Pretty much. That's the term I should say. They done made it. We want to get out.
Well,
I think it's a big influence. I
where
should say.
have
That's
they made
big
it?
influence.
Yeah,
Say it
where
again.
have they made it though? Where have they made it though?
out the hood for one.
Right.
Anyway, um,
So they speak on activity in the hood, but they in Beverly Hills.
some of them.
I don't think most of them actually. Well, let me not say most, but I don't think a lot of them actually come from an actual hood. It sounds good, They all to me they all start sounding the same anyway. But you know,
Yeah. No, a lot of them don't.
Bug say her mixtape coming out soon. I can't wait. Let's
push it out.
let's guess the name of Bug's mixtape. Ugh. If Bug had a mixtape, what would she name it?
Let me think on that.
Said just in time for Christmas.
And the question also becomes: do we want reality to be a reflection of what they're doing?
You know what? Speaking of which, so y'all know that my husband's deployed, and I think a couple weekends ago we were on the phone and he was just walking through the town where he's deployed. He's on his off day trying to find food or whatever, and he's being followed by little kids that are in that area. And one of the little boys decides to come up and be like, "Hey, what up, gangster?" I'm like, "What did he just say to you?"
Sounds about right.
I'm like,
And so,
"Racist as hell. He don't know you."
okay, but that's the propaganda part behind it. What's going on, Rich? Welcome on.
What
But
up, Rick?
We
anybody
just
that
hopped into.
my husband know that he's the first thing from a gangster that could be gangster. Well, maybe not. I don't know, but but I like whoa. Then the little guy proceeds to ask my husband for money,
Of
and
course.
yeah, I ain't got no loose money on me, whatever. He's like, let's go to the ATM, gangster. Whoa, wait a minute, buddy. I'm like, if you don't
Comfortable.
get a little MF away from you expeditiously,
That's what they do. That's what they do. And so again, do we want reality to reflect hip hop? Do we want those issues? He a whole world away. He a
yeah.
whole world away. Hey, shout out to Petey, the engagement. Shout out
Yeah.
to Cuz Pete.
Hey,
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely don't. I don't think we want it, but it is a big reflection of us.
You got to
When we talk
quantify that.
about us, so we can talk about like middle class. We can talk about, what I'm saying, inner city. We can talk about whatever you want to call it. Like this is a lot of them guys came from the community.
I mean, music is entertainment. I don't feel like what we represent is entertainment. Like who we are is not. We are not entertainers. We're nobody's clowns. We nobody dance monkeys. I'm just saying we are who we are, and I don't think entertainment should be what people automatically think when they see us. Is what I'm saying.
I get you, but that's also what I'm saying. We are like that. We are the best entertainers in any realm, any sport, any, you know what I'm saying? We thrive just because of where we came from to get to somewhere else. That's what I'm sticking with, bro. That's what I'm standing on. It's not a reflection of the community, but I think it is. We are. That is the community.
What you
Yeah,
got, Rich? Well,
gang
go ahead, Wanda.
are not drug dealers. All of us are not prostitutes. All of us are not.
No,
No,
I get
or
it, but that's the community.
a lot of that is what's being reflected. But all of us wake up and go to work every day. None of us are on nobody's street corner. None of us is doing any of that. But yet, if somebody see us out anywhere else outside of our work clothes, that's automatically what they're going to assume, and that's not cool.
Okay. So then is it just propaganda?
Yeah.
So how is it propaganda if there's a quote unquote realness behind it?
I mean, it's a realness behind anything in art, but that's not necessarily what the truth is behind it.
Okay. Richard, what you got? I saw you getting ready to pipe in.
You know what? I said this on the first podcast you had about Mr. Combs. When hip hop, rap music, when it came out in the late 70s, early 80s, it was just for us. We talked to each other in different voices. And we were talking about a group of black people who were disenfranchised within Black America. And so that was fine.
Well, can you explain that a little bit? A group of black people that were disenfranchised inside.
Please.
Yeah, and I will.
Okay.
If you go back and look at rock and roll, the original founders of rock and roll was Chuck Berry and Little Richard, and I believe it was a black woman. I don't have her name in my mind. She goes back further. Okay,
Yeah.
They don't get credit for that, unfortunately. Even though Chuck Berry is the godfather of rock and roll, he doesn't get his full credit. Jimi Hendrix would have got the full credit, but he died of a drug overdose. So that's just one type of music, rock and roll. R&B,
Okay.
of course, came from the black community. Rock and roll came from the black community. The blues talk about racism within America against black people. That came from Black America. Gospel, our desire to worship God, to overcome racism, that came from Black America. R&B, of course. Here's the part that's really interesting. We as a whole group were supporting rhythm and blues, gospel, somewhat, as I'm going to country, somewhat rock and roll. But the one particular style that didn't have all of Black America behind it was hip hop, because it was a very new form. These men and women were writing geniuses that never got credit for it. And they were using words that were unbecoming, that other black people do not endorse. But black people once again have created a new music genre. But this time it was a small group of black people within Black America who were disenfranchised from the rest of Black America, because you can come from the streets, you can come from a bad part of town, but when you come from those projects that subsidize housing, that's another issue. That's a little bit different.
Okay. I see what you're saying.
Okay.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah. So when they did that, and that was all fine, and the use of the N-word was fine, because it was just us talking to us, even though some of us, older black people, will not use that word. Period.
Wait, when you say older black people, you ain't talking about me.
So okay, so hold on.
I ain't old. I'm on the backside of young, but I ain't old.
Hold on. So when it got started in the late 70s, early 80s, I'm
Right.
55. I'm 55. So in the group that I grew up with, we may have used the N-word with each other, but we didn't go outside the community. And we definitely weren't going to sing about it in the song that goes outside the community. But in the late 80s, when rap music, quote, crossed over into white America and into Latin America and Asian America, when they
Run
crossed over,
DMC, all them boys, yes. Yeah.
and they kept using the N-word, I said, we got a problem. Because we're not going to let a white person say the N-word to us without a problem going down. But now if they come with their money and buy our music, then they should be allowed to sing the song. But hip hop said, no, you cannot use the N-word, even though we use it in our song, we control that word. So we'll take your money, but we won't allow you to use the word.
Right.
That creates a problem.
And I agree with ECAS on this one, because you're talking about an actual divide between hip hop rap and what is actually pop culture or pop music. And that was one of the lines that I was trying to draw a week ago, saying that these are various different sections. Now there are multiple different points that touch, but by and large, these are different genres, although they don't get their due justice at any award show, right? Because a Talib Kweli isn't in the same category as what's one of these little mumble rapper guys? I can't think of their names right now.
And that's what I was attesting to. The generations have changed. You know what I'm saying? Like Rich said, we've gone from Run DMC, early 80s, you know what I'm saying? To the late 80s, we got NWA for Public Enemy out there as well. So we got conscious rap, but we have what they gangster rap.
But even with that, like if you listen to what NWA was actually talking about, and you go
correct.
you
But
lyrics,
that's what I was speaking on.
even,
Go ahead.
yeah, I think it's just it was a different form of it was West Coast conscious rap, because they were simply talking about what was going down in Watts, what was going down in Oakland, what was going down in that, you know what I'm saying? So they were highlighting different situations of their community from the outside actors, right? And they were doing it in a form and with a platform that people didn't like, because they weren't being curt, they weren't code switching with their words. They were saying, y'all are sending these gangsters in uniform in here to hurt us, right? And we can police our own communities. That's where NWA. Now when Easy broke off and started doing it on his own, I can't say the same thing. There was a little bit of a different undertone in that. But NWA, outside of some of the stuff that they were talking about with women, it was more of a conscious movement to it in the beginning.
Right. Yeah, I was just running down the history. You know what I'm saying? We went from Run DMC, LL Cool J, all them boys to NWA. Then we got to even our era, G, with the Master P's, the De La Souls. You know what I'm saying? So we always had that in each generation. But now the generation is nothing but trap boys, mumble rap, drill boys. You know what I'm saying? It's different. It's different now.
Well, if you watch some of those YouTube videos, you're and besides Kanye or Ye, whatever he's going by, you will hear some of the rappers say that the music companies wanted them to be very negative in their music, and they wanted to promote that type of negative stereotype against the Black community. And Public Enemy and conscious rappers like Ludacris and people like that, they're not going to do that. You're not going to buy them out. But the other ones who are trying to make it out, they said, okay, if this is what it takes for me to get a record deal to help me get out of this situation, then I will promote that negative lifestyle and use negative words against other Black people.
Correct.
And so this goes back to some of the things that I talk about, because our culture, we are the 11th biggest economy in the world by ourselves. I've said this on multiple different occasions. However, we don't own anything to show for that. We don't even own our own music anymore. And that's another part of the issue. And so I think when it comes down to being able to narrate and tell our own story, we've got to take ownership of that. We've got to cross out the propagandists that we know are going to simply sell us in a specific light, so that when Cuzzo is in a deployment and he's just passing about his own business, a foreigner is going to come up to him and simply say, "What's up, gangster?" Like, nah, that's not what I identify with. Why are you disrespecting me in that fashion? I'm a grown ass man. What do you mean, gangster?
Well, hold
I'm a
on.
such.
When you say that, when I was saying a few podcasts back, because you're looking at the entire black community, the good and the bad, and you're taking everything into perspective. I hope that any black person who gets on that jury for Mr. Combs keeps that same mindset, to keep an open mind.
Now that's a whole nother story for this time, because like the article you sent me showing that there are new allegations from even alleged minors coming forward, right? So there has to be a separation, even when it comes to our churches and people not speaking up about that, right? And so I guess in some of these aspects, with an alignment, there is a part of the music that reflects a specific reality. Notwithstanding,
Remember the demonization of the black man, whether he's right or whether he's wrong. A person can speed and get a ticket, but you can say, well, he was speeding excessively, and so we're going to take his license from him. So what they're trying to say is, P. Diddy, you were doing things excessively, and now, see, I kept saying this in the very first podcast I got on. I said, there's no underage, so this does not relate any way.
Can't see who get on no more. My nephew took my phone. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
that's
So,
all right, because
yeah. So I said in the very first podcast about Mr. Combs, I said, this has no underage people, so this does not relate to Mr. Kelly. Now, all of a sudden, now they say, well, the Houston attorney, Mr. Busby, we got 100, we have 120 cases, 25 of them are underage. You know, we have videos, pictures, text messages, police reports, hospital reports. So you're basically telling me every day something else. No, he is guilty, period. That's an absolute lie. See, this person that says that, East Case producer, you judging this, E-Cast. You are judging this person before they've had their day in court. So when they ask that jury, the future jurors, have you heard about this case? Have you made up your mind? Every single day, Hollywood, mainstream media keeps releasing a little bit at a time, because they got the whole thing. They keep releasing a little bit at a time to keep poisoning our minds. So we'll say, well, he's guilty. If I get selected for the jury, it doesn't matter what the lawyers say. He's already guilty.
You don't think R. Kelly and P. Diddy is bigger than the community for their cases?
No. Because this is what they say to us. No matter how much money you may amass, because of the color of your skin, which goes back to how did your ancestors get here? Were they immigrants? And I'm going to bet 9 times out of 10, for most black people, you are not a child of an immigrant. You're a child, you're a descendant of the enslaved African. Period.
Sure. And I don't think we're disagreeing.
Yeah. No. Some black people will tell me I am not a descendant of the enslaved African. And
but
so
even in the community back then, they sold their own people as well, you know.
Well,
that's in Africa. That's in Africa. Yeah. Oh yeah.
I'm
not disputing that.
I'm going to push back against that narrative, because if there is a portion of that's true, right? And the portion of that's true is there were warring tribes that were absolutely selling other people into slavery. However, the slavery that they knew and understood was totally and completely different than American chattel slavery, which they were brought into. Had they known that they were getting brought into these types of conditions, there's a better chance than not that they would not have sold their countrymen into those types of conditions.
I mean, understandable, but It happened. It took place.
Hold on. I'll go back further. When they had slaves in Egypt, and when Moses took all those, this is how I say this. When Moses, that black man, took all those black folks out of there, when they were quote Hebrews. But the slavery wasn't based on racial superiority, but the European slavery was, and that's what Mr. Glass is referring to. That European slavery was based on a racial superiority complex that came from Emperor Constantine. When years ago they had all the pictures of the angels and Jesus and God being portrayed as being white in Europe. That gave them the impetus to go out and grab people in the name of their quote white Christian religion. I didn't want to say this, but it is what it is.
Yeah, and it was actually the Spaniards who started the type of slavery that was divisive and then pushed in the movement of race. They're the ones who started that. With that being said, American slavery, which is in history, American slavery, American chattel slavery,
right, and
has been and always will be the worst slavery that's been.
Yeah, that's the only reason why I spoke about that. You know what I'm saying? Like you saying, it's the worst, but we would never been in that situation had not, you know what I'm saying?
And what he said was, his child. And he said, what he said was, his child know what it is. She's not allowed to bring her situation to my house and contaminate my other children with her actions. The word used was contaminate. How do y'all feel coming on the internet, and regardless of who you are, and talking about your child like that?
I have a quick question though. If you ask anybody who's I don't care what religion they are, if they go by the King James version of the Bible, and then there's verses in the Old and New Testament that speak out against homosexuality, then this rapper, what do you say his name is? Boosie?
Boosie.
Okay. Well, however you say his name, is he not allowed to have his freedom of speech in regards to how he believes in God?
Well, you just did two things there. You just did two things there. You drove in the Constitution, and you correlated it with religion. There's a separation of church and state for a reason in America.
You're correct. So you can have a religion or you cannot have a religion. That's correct. It goes both ways.
Yeah, and even with, go ahead.
No, and so my thing is, if a person wants to have an alternative lifestyle, the person wants to be gay or whatever, they should have that freedom to do that. However, if they say you have to accept my homosexual lifestyle, so you're telling someone who doesn't believe in a homosexual lifestyle, and they're using that, and they're coming from out of the Bible, and you're saying, I don't care about your religious beliefs. I'm going to force my belief system on you by you saying you have to accept it. I don't know. It gets touchy. If you're using public taxpayer dollars, then yes, you have to accept it.
I think if you live by the Bible, then that'll be one thing. But if you out here sinning every day, doing what you do, I don't think you should be able to point fingers at the next and what he did to his daughter. You know what I'm saying? Like Boosie out here is a wild child. You see what I'm saying?
The same rapper who let a stripper fuck their minor son.
So now if you go back to the Bible and say, well, hey, no sin is greater than another sin except for the blasphemy of God's name, or if you take your life, well, then you're absolutely 1,000% correct.
I'm just on the point of the judgment part.
But why would
you're right on that too. You're right on that too.
He judging it. He judging her, and he doing what he doing. It don't add up.
But here's where it gets complicated, though.
And you're saying all of this, and you're trying to, I'm raising my kids a certain way. I'm raising my kids a certain way. He raised her a certain way, and she's still a lesbian.
Well, here's what gets complicated.
What is the problem?
I don't have a problem. Here's what gets complicated. You want people to be who they are. All right?
Correct.
Now, if gay people want to get married, they have that right. It took a lot of years of fighting to get that right. And some people say that destroys the institution of marriage. Argument goes both ways. But here's where it gets tricky, the transgendered. Because if you're born a boy, I mean, because if you're born a boy, but you live a gay lifestyle, okay, fine. But then you say, well, I'm born a boy, but I really am a girl. So instead of calling you Richard, you call me Rachel. Okay. So you call me no, hear me out. You call me Rachel. So now I'm Rachel and I'm grown up. And so now I see Wanda. Hi Wanda, how you doing? Well, hi Rachel, how you doing? And so now you get grown, you have some kids. But I'm still a little kid, but now I'm competing in sports. So now your little girl comes up, you doing all you can to raise your daughter right. She's out there in the swimming pool, doing the best, try to get a scholarship, first black girl from St. Louis or whatever to do such and such. And then here comes Rachel, me. I show up in the water because I want to be a girl. I identify as a girl. So now I'm competing with your daughter, and I beat your daughter for that scholarship to Harvard. How do you feel now about me calling myself transgender when you know doggone well my name is Richard and I stand up night? Well, I should be standing up in the restroom, but I'm whatever. But I'm calling myself Rachel and I beat your daughter. This is not no average daughter. This is your favorite daughter for that Harvard scholarship.
That's not fair.
See, that's where it gets tricky.
Yeah. I don't think it's really tricky. There's something that you said that I absolutely agree with, and that is the epistolizing of a specific lifestyle. Because, and this is what I let me make the statement. So I think the forced action of anything on somebody else who doesn't want it is not a good look. So, for instance, when Christians go out and they knock on people's doors and they epistolize them and want to bring them into the faith, right? And a person says directly, look, I don't want that. I'm an atheist. But it continues. But we don't have to turn off some of these internet devices around here. But it continues. I don't think that's any different than a transgendered person saying that you have to accept my identification or my identity as law, right? I think those are the same thing, and the only thing that makes them different is the person behind the words. And so that both of those things are an issue to me. If a person wants to be who they are, by all means, allow them to be. But the forced movement of a religion or a lifestyle is totally different than the tolerance of said lifestyle.
I feel like transgenders should have their own sporting events. They should not be able to compete against a traditional men and women. I feel like they should have their own sporting events that they compete in. So that's how I feel it. But I still feel like they have human rights. I still feel like, what's up, Derek? I saw your hand go up. What's up?
Oh no, I was just listening. But one thing we have at a gender reveal party is either blue or pink, and I'm gonna leave that transgender stuff alone. I agree with you. I was just saying I agree with you on the sport. If they can do their own thing, they should have their own individual stuff. But
you remember what Dave Chappelle said, and he was catching a lot of heat from the gay community, and I laughed because I asked from the whole gay community, because trans is part of the gay community, and I said the same thing. If I go out here and rob a liquor store for $20,
oh, I'm busy.
And so I robbed the liquor store for $20. So the man says, "Hey, you're wrong, and we're going to send you to jail." And so then I say, "Well, you know what? You're right. I was wrong. And by the way, I realize that I've done wrong, and I've come to accept who I am and be accountable for my actions, Your Honor. So from this day forward, don't call me Richard anymore. Please call me Rachel, because now I identify as a woman. Please send me to a female institution."
Yeah, no, that happened.
All them women, because it's happened.
Yeah, that happened.
Now, eventually, they put the transgender into an isolation in the male prisons. That's what I hear.
Oh,
yeah, because there was a problem at first. You know what I'm saying? When
women's jails, because they was getting the women pregnant.
Yeah, they started coming up pregnant.
They was blowing backs out.
So what are you saying?
So the transgender were really nice. Yeah. Well,
You're
well,
right.
well, listen, this thing about P. Diddy, and they keep saying, oh, he was, all this homosexual sex. Who cares if the sex is homosexual or not? The whole point should be, don't demonize if it was homosexual sex. If you should be saying, well, hey, if you drug these people, that's wrong. If you did that, if you engage in bringing them across state lines, that is wrong.
I never know
So,
what side you be on, Rich, because you give both
no,
sides of the argument every time you speak. That's what I'm
well,
saying.
because
You get both sides.
I see from the gay community what fighting regards to discrimination that they've
On
had
any topic.
before. Yeah, but I think when you look straight down the line, I have to be able to understand your viewpoint. And so when the gay community says, Richard, they've been hassling us since the time we were here, I'm thinking, well, I'm black. I agree with you. So what they try to say is the gay community uses the black community as their equal and says, we've both been going through the same thing together. We should be working together, when there's actually racism within the gay community. That's why I say it's a little tricky.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter about P. Diddy and those acts that they did, as long as the people were consenting adults and they weren't on drugs, everything should be fine. And even if someone came across state lines, who cares? Because you're not paying them for the sex act, you're paying them for their time, even though
It's flued out and it's not trafficking. So,
well, they got this male prostitute allegedly. I guess he's talking to a grand jury this week or last week, and he's saying, yeah, Puffy paid me all this money. And my thing is this. So he paid you to have sex
with him?
I don't know who he had the sex with, but the male prostitute said he was paid to have sex and Diddy paid it. So did the money come from Diddy? And if you were a male prostitute, a male sex worker, and you did this, and you knew you were committing a crime, but you did it anyway. So you still committed the crime. You knew you were wrong. You wasn't on drugs. You wouldn't manipulate it. You knew exactly what you were doing. And then my second question is, you did all this illegal activity. Did you pay taxes on that money? Do you have the receipt where Mr. Combs paid you this money? Did you pay your taxes off that money? Oh, you didn't do that either. Oh, okay.
Why? Why is that a question to drill down the character of the victim? Because we definitely begin to get into re-victimization with that type of
Hold on, Mr. Prosecuting Attorney. I would never do that. All I'm simply trying to do is clarify for the jury that this individual who wasn't on drugs, who was above 18, was willing to travel across state lines and get paid for his time, not for the sex, but for his time. And that when he did that, it shouldn't have been illegal. But my question is, if he did that, did he pay his taxes on the money? Because he's committed a crime if he didn't pay his taxes.
Well,
so why is he now?
If I pay my taxes on the money, then it has to come from a provider, so an entity. So P. Diddy name will have to be on that. You know what I'm saying?
Show me the check. Show me the check.
To answer your question, I'm just saying, so everything is under the table. You know what I'm saying? So I'm coming here under the table to do whatever I want to do, but I ain't asked to get doped up, bro.
Hold on. Well, if that's the case, if I'm Mr. Combs and you said that I paid you underneath the table, then there's no track record. What do you have? You don't have anything.
And see, but this is why again, here's the tie-in. Here's the tie-in, because we know that there are down low brothers that have gone way about outside of the borders of Atlanta, and these guys are harming folks if their business is told. Right? If somebody found out that they own that, they the download that's their thing in the culture, in the community, rather, that they're willing to harm someone. And the reason why that ties in is because P. Diddy, the reason why he can't get bail is because he was called a threat to the community. Because
well, who is he really putting his hands other than other women?
Racism. That's racism.
That's not enough. Other women? How many women?
That's racism of a black man accused of a crime that he's still innocent of until he's found guilty in a court of law. That's racism.
I'm just saying his indictments, you know what I'm saying? They got to bring something up, you know what I'm saying? It's as far as indictments, you know what I'm saying? I agree with you for as like until he's proven guilty, but so far until he's proven guilty, he has this in front of us.
All I'm saying is worse people have been given bail.
Racism, once again, that's racism.
I don't deny that worse people have been given bail, but I can't directly blame it on racism though. And the reason why I can't,
I know it's
the
really
reason
close.
why, yeah, but the reason why I can't directly blame it on racism is because he has a behavior, he has a pattern, right?
No, that's an allegation. That's an allegation.
It's not just allegation because the feds are watching the tapes, which is the feds are watching the tapes.
You don't know that.
And
Multiple
what I
people have spoke about it.
yeah.
Hearsay.
Go ahead, Jig. Yeah.
No, but what I can say, what I can agree with is that it is hearsay and it's allegedly, right? But
I'm damn.
if it's one or two people, if say again, Wanda.
I said I'm damn near a lawyer. Every time I be watching so much lawyer TV, I watch Reasonable Doubt, Law and Order. I've been watching what's that other show I've been watching? Well, I finished it with the judge and his son had hit the person.
Oh, I heard about that.
Yeah.
I
Hey,
heard
this
about
show-
that.
hey,
show.
I'm damn near a lawyer over here. I know all the words.
Yeah, Maya was watching that, but
So,
I don't.
I
I
finished
think
Down in
I
Louisiana.
think I think Sean Combs has exhibited a behavioral pattern, and that behavioral pattern is if you come to these white parties and you engage in these freak offs.
That's a negative word. Freak off's a negative word. That's a negative word. Go ahead.
Is freak off a negative word?
It sure is. It sure is. It's a derogatory word that people in the community use, that people outside the community should not be using, just like the N word. They should not be using, because his parties were Hollywood parties, just like Mr. Hugh Hefner, and his parties were never accused of being freak offs. Never, 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 never.
Hey, but a fur ain't never a fur. A fur ain't never been a fur. And we know this as a community. So I don't know why we keep holding that card. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, we know a fur ain't fur. But
right. What I'll also say is I can't equate it to the N word, because I don't remember in history, any point in history, where somebody was being strung up by their neck while being yelled this racial epithet and this slur.
Not in that aspect. What I'm simply saying is the parties that Mr. Combs were doing allegedly were very similar to Mr. Hugh Hefner's parties. Mr. Hugh Hefner's parties were never considered freak offs. The same things, it appears, because we don't know the evidence, everything is still up in the air on allegations, but it appears that everything that Mr. Combs did was very similar. So remember when I said sex, drugs, and rock and roll is okay, but sex, drugs, and hip hop is not okay. That's why it's a racial element.
But you spoke on it as well, though. They never rode against a community. They never rode against a. You know what I'm saying?
And so
you spoke about it though.
Yeah. At the beginning of the conversation tonight, when I came on, y'all were talking about accountability and responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
So my question is, all these so-called Black folks, old and young, who say I love my community. No, y'all asked them. Because the minute they came and told you something about Mr. Dark Skin, no offense, because I'm dark too, dark skin Mr. Combs, the minute they ran up on him and said he's a bad boy, a high percentage of Black Americans said, well, we know he wasn't no good, but you was rocking to his music, going to his parties from 1991 to 2024.
He was bigger than us. He was bigger than us.
Yeah, and because I still listen.
Yeah, but everybody. So let's take the rock community. How many people film stuff at these parties? How many allegations have you heard from these parties? You ain't heard nobody speak about nothing bad about none of these parties. You ain't heard nobody getting drugged. We don't know, but you have never heard about none. That's why I was speaking about their community versus ours. And you spoke about it. Our community got so much flawed in it. You know what I'm saying? From nobody want to speak up. Jig talked about the church. Nobody want to speak. It's bigger than the church. What about at home? You know what I'm saying? Ain't nobody speaking on the uncle or none of that in the community doing something to someone else. You know what I'm saying? Like it's bigger than the community is so messed up. It's entangled in everything. The drugs, the sex, the alcohol, you name it. So we can Go ahead, G.
Just because we didn't hear about the sex, drugs, and rock and roll on videotape outside our community does not mean it didn't exist.
You can't bring that man to court. You can't bring that man to court on nothing. Well, you know what I'm saying? So you speaking about why he ain't ever been brought up?
Because that was accepted when, see, here listen to this. Any black politician across America, when you go into that office, you're held to a higher standard. So it doesn't matter what the white politicians did that was illegal, that they got away with year after year, decade after decade. If you think I'm wrong, go ask Mayor Adams right now in New York City. You're held to a higher standard. So the things they get away with, and our grannies, the younger people, I don't know, but our grannies told us, and our grandfathers, they told us, this is how it is.
Mm-hmm.
So you're held to a higher standard when you reach that ultimate height. So the things that they can do, Mr. Hefner, he can get away with. And all of Hollywood can basically get away with because those are white men in power. But
so why not live up to that standard?
Why not live up to that standard? If you know you're being held to a certain, you on this platform or this plateau, why not be held accountable? That's what I'm saying.
Well, and I would say this. Here's where I go outside of race. Anytime a man or even a woman, when you start making millions upon millions upon millions of dollars, I don't care what country you're in, I don't care what religion you're in, you're going to make some mistakes because the temptation is constantly coming at you. So you're going to make mistakes. You're going to make mistakes. You know, why is it?
Allegedly. Not with a minor, allegedly.
Wait a minute, hold on. I said, I'm not talking about Mr. Combs individually. I'm saying when a person of any color, I'm going outside race, a person of any color makes millions upon millions upon millions of dollars, there's a chance that temptation is going to be coming at them in a wave over and over and over again. If it was that simple, why is it within the black community so many, quote, men in the clergy do things wrong? Because the temptation is overwhelming. So go back to the money and go outside the black community. Any person, regardless of their color, I don't care if it's a man or a woman, when you get to the highest of the high heights and you see all the drugs being used in front of you, you see how everything gets massaged to go your way because now you're in the inner crowd, you're going to do some things that are not right. And I'm not condoning it. I'm just telling you, these are the facts of human nature across the world.
Yeah, and I'm not disagreeing with that point either. I'm not, because you can only say no so many times, right? But what I am saying, go ahead, Wanda.
No, I was reading the comment. Shine had took a rap for a shooting in a club.
That's correct.
Yeah, Diddy been getting off for years, man.
Well, listen, if we go back in the past and look at Elvis Presley when he met his wife, I think she was like 13, 14. Jerry Lee Lewis. They did an article a year or two ago about this. How some of the rockers were dating these teenage women and getting away with it. But that was in so that was in that time frame.
Chuck Berry as well. He had a young wife.
Who did?
Chuck Berry.
Oh, I didn't know about that one. Okay, so this thing is part of this.
That's what I'm saying. That was the era though.
Yeah. Right. But we don't want to say, well, because that was the era, then they should have been able to get away with it, because that's not a good answer either. All I'm simply saying is in Hollywood, there's a culture within Hollywood that's very special.
Yeah.
And they do these kind of sex parties and drugs, and they don't think anything of it. The only other industry that I can think of that can rival sex, drugs, and some questionable actions is in your federal government. When Heidi Fleiss had that book, and they said, well, Heidi, we're going to put you in jail, but we don't want you releasing the names of those 80 celebrities using all these prostitutes. And she kept her mouth shut. And they gave her a couple years, and then she came right out of there and went on with her life. So in the federal government, they have the same issue, but you're not going to hear about it. Look, Congressman Matt Gaetz, the Republican from down in Florida, they said he was with an underage girl. 1 minute they talk about it, 1 minute it goes away, and it's just back and forth, back and forth.
No, it's still that's still burning on him. Matt Gaetz, he's still being hemmed up for that.
And I'm not even going to use Donald Trump's name because some of that stuff may be true, some of that stuff may not be true. You know, white America split down the middle on this man. I'm fine. You know, he's just another politician. Politicians do what they do, and they get away with it 9 times out of 10, or 9.9 times out of 10.
Just because, like, so let's put this in a little perspective, right? Just because you see somebody shooting heroin, and they keep shooting, and then they keep shooting, and they keep shooting it, that don't mean that you finna jump in and get in on it, right? Just because that's a thing doesn't mean that you got to get in on it, right? So what I'm saying is to use the theory of you can of temptation, right? If you see all it, like TD Jakes knew all this stuff was happening, was still hanging out, allegedly, right? And he knew better. And so if that's a thing that you know could be tempting, why run head on into it? Why not turn around? Because you know it can cause you some type of destruction.
Because that's the culture of Hollywood. So they don't. When you go to the Hollywood parties, well, look at it like this. You're saying if you know that something's going down questionable, you shouldn't go to his parties. Well, number one, if you go to his party, does not mean you necessarily did something illegal. Because they say his parties between 8 and 11 or 8 and 2 o'clock in the morning were great. But if you went after 2 o'clock in the morning, or if you went to one of his little private rooms in his parties, maybe something may have gone down. Now, but they're painting that everybody who went to his parties were wrong. Here's my problem with this. If everyone wants to find this man so convicted, you know, well, Diddy's wrong and throw him in jail. Well, if you're going to throw him in jail, everybody who knew what he was doing, every single person, are you willing to condemn them and throw them in jail too, which may lead to Beyonce and Jay-Z? Are you willing to do that? I need to know.
So if is the operative word, right? And even when it comes to court, if still becomes the operative word. And going like right now, I won't make what I would consider my own personal legal judgment about it because I haven't seen it all. Everything right now is allegation. Now, in my personal court of opinion, from what I'm reading and from what I've heard just sitting in barbershops, yeah, that motherfucker guilty. Like Usher flat out said he wouldn't let his kids go to no Diddy, whatever it was called, a Diddy camp.
Stop right there. When Usher, see, here's my problem with this. Usher, you were trying to make it to the top. Diddy said, Mr. Combs said, "Come on, young man,
let's wrestle with a box of cereal."
And you ran your brown ass up there into that man's house. You were like, "Man, I'm gonna get to the top." And when he said allegedly,
he was a minor. His mama.
He was a minor. All right, but I'm saying this. Usher, you were so willing to get that success that your mama and daddy said, "Go on up there to Mr. Combs' house." And you get up to Mr. Combs' house, you got half a bit of sense. I don't care if you are 14 years old. You got enough sense to know, hey, man, I don't get down like that. You have to send me back to my mom and daddy. You didn't say that. And then
No.
Hold on a second. You were 14. Hold on a second. If you were a 14-year-old and you went up there, your mom and daddy signed off for you to go up to this man's house. You know what's right and what is wrong. I'm sorry, Mr. Usher, but you said, you know what? I'm gonna roll with it.
Sent them to R. Kelly house too, and I'm just saying.
Right, but I'm gonna focus on Usher for a second, because here's why I'm focusing on Usher. You did so if it's true, the allegations are true that P. Diddy said, "Well, hey, you want to give me a little bit of that booty now, and then we can work things out." Okay, so Usher makes a decision, a financial decision, to give up the booty.
Oh, yeah,
once you gave up the booty and you got to the top, you paid the price. You took care of your mom and daddy. And when you
Yeah.
had kids, you took care of your kids too. You did all that like an outstanding black man, but you paid the price. But when you paid
Bruh.
the price and you gave up the little booty, if you did that,
I can't have no trauma.
then don't tell me 10 years, 15 years later, you're traumatized. No, I don't want to hear that. Because
He
your
was a
time,
kid.
oh no, I'm sorry. Because what you're doing is you got traumatized, you did all that, but you wasn't so traumatized to give up that money. No, you wasn't.
Well, he got to pay for his therapist some kind of way.
Talk to
Okay.
him.
All right. But he made all that money. And now you come back and say, oh, yeah, Puffy's guilty. Well, hold on, Mr. Usher. Was you at those parties? Did you do anything on them videos? Or were you smart enough to know, well, I already been through this. I know how this goes down. I'm going to skip them little rooms. Because if you skip
I
those
don't.
little rooms, no, that's fine, Isaac Swift. I want you to disagree with me. But what
I
I'm
don't.
simply
I don't think a 14-year-old kid has the direct ability to sift through
What just happened here?
nature,
I'm
Oh,
not
being
victim.
in,
I'm not victim
being
shaming.
abused, being
Right.
abused,
Mhm.
and being worried about money.
Okay,
I
hold on
don't
a
think
second.
that
Okay, well,
works.
hold on. So since y'all say that, because I don't want no one to say I'm victim shaming. What I'm saying is, if you want people to be responsible, and Usher knew going to those parties how Mr. Combs, if it's true, how he got down after he turned 21. So if he knew this and he still went to those parties, and then they come out later and say, well, he's on these videotapes. And Usher says, well, yeah, I did that stuff and I did that stuff and I knew I was wrong. But because how he did me, I was traumatized. So when I'm hurt, then I turned around and started hurting other people. And if y'all sit here and tell me, okay, Mr. Usher, we understand where you're coming from. When Mr. Combs says, Mr. Davis allegedly and the rest of those guys abused me and I'm traumatized. And so when I got traumatized and I got raped, I turned around and did the same thing.
Well, yeah, hurt people hurt
Uh-huh.
people,
Oh, definitely.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
right?
We definitely do
Because
that.
look at our community. Look at our community. Our community is suffering from abuse that hasn't been resolved, right? And what we teach each other these different types of abuses. Not just that, but those abuses become norms. Although it's not right, they become norms. So he's stuck in a culture where this perversion has become a norm. It's a norm. And once he realizes and figures out that, wait a minute, this actually isn't normal, then he can begin to deal with what actually went on. Grapevine CEO.
Good
Why
evening.
FaceTime? How are you? No
Yeah.
picture? See you live?
You can. I gotta get some lighting, but I can go live for you guys. I gotta get my lighting together.
All right, all right. So you said you read some of the excerpts out of the unfinished documents from Kim Porter?
Yes, I actually just finished reading it today, like maybe a couple of minutes ago.
is that the book that was supposedly sold on Amazon?
Yes, that book that was allegedly sold on Amazon and Etsy.
And yeah, that's allegedly not real.
Yes, that's allegedly not real. Yes, that book.
Uh,
So
I don't know. Well, we don't know. We only know what we see on TV and social media. So who knows how much of it is authentic, but
yeah.
I found it very interesting. I really did.
What is it that you found interesting?
What I found interesting was, how raw it was. It didn't really hide a lot of names. A lot of names were in the book publicly, not redacted or blacked out. A lot of intimate details were shared in the book on an intimate sexual level and worse. And I just didn't really know much about her life that way. So, all I saw was the pretty pictures with the models and celebrities. I didn't see, this side. Of course, people hide the stuff behind closed doors. We know how that happens, but I don't know. I don't know what to think of it, but it's very raw, very graphic, very detailed. And there's a lot of names in the book that I think people will be surprised to hear about.
Okay.
One quick question. Can Grapevine give us just two names?
Yes. Khadida Jones, Mary J. Blige.
Okay.
Oh, I almost agreed just because of Mary J.
Are you from the East Coast?
Yes, I'm from New York City. I'm from the East
And
Coast.
your accent is so heavy and so yeah.
Thank you guys. But I heard when I finished my little live, I saw your stream. I'm like, oh, I'm going to chime in. I'm going to listen. I'm like, I was just talking about that. The world is talking about that. So you guys were talking about some interesting things. So I just wanted to be a part.
Mm-hmm.
One quick thing, Grapevine. So if I hear you clearly, there's a high probability that you're a registered voter in the city of New York and you still have an open mind so that you are sent a jury summons. Y'all, they think I'm playing, but I'm not. So you're unbiased. You're unbiased. You have an open mind, and that there's a probability that you were a registered voter and that you may be summoned for a court trial concerning Mr. Combs, and you can take the evidence and weigh it accordingly.
I plead the fifth.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. I'm trying.
I mean, you know, it's a conversational piece, you know, for content creators. I'm a small content creator, you know, so I did put a disclaimer out on the video. I did do that, but I just wanted to touch base on it. I'm a 1980s baby. I grew up listening to Bad Boy. You know, I've been at Summer Jam. I've been to concerts in Brooklyn and Madison Square Garden. Like, this is a part of my history for me, kind of, sort of like.
Yeah. I was definitely at the No Way Out tour.
You know,
I was definitely in the place.
So,
but I don't know.
It's like Bill Cosby too. When Bill Cosby hit us, we were like, we didn't want to accept it. You know, we didn't want to hear that.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I still ain't accepted it because I'm just gonna be honest with you. I mean, you can't come out. This man is damn near 100, and you coming out now saying, "Oh, he did these things to me," when I'm getting ready to buy a network that you don't want me to have.
And mind you, he was everybody's almost daddy in the Black and brown and Latino households for a lot of years, you know. So it was a detachment. We had to disassociate or make a decision to, you know, love the character or love the person.
Hey, random. Why on that? His name was Bill Cosby, right?
Yes.
They was the Huxtables, though?
Yeah.
Why was his name the Cosby Show?
Because
but I'm just saying, they the Huxtables, though.
Well,
you know, Dr. Cosby. Dr. Cosby. He's such a brilliant man.
It was just a random on my mind.
You know what? All the things he didn't always have to put his name in front of it. See, Dr. Cosby was a brilliant man. See, you know, Fat Albert. See, y'all don't know.
We from the 80s, man. Hey, come on, we know about that.
And I'm gonna say this.
Rich, what church you? I'm coming. I know you preach at somebody's church.
No, because I want y'all to hear me on this. I hear so many black folks say how they were down for the community and I'm in this hip hop gang and I'm in it for life. But the minute a brother it's time to go to prison, you can't find a person to back you up. Because now you find out who's really black and true and who's not. Now you find out.
Oh man, you can't pull my black card. You can't pull my black card.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not pulling your black card. No, what I'm simply saying is this man, hip hop, rap, they have a culture, and they said we down for the cause. Wait a minute, they said they down for the cause, and they're about that business and ratting and snitching. They ain't about all that. But when things get tough, we find out something different about somebody's black.
Of course, they ain't about that. Of course, they ain't about that, right? That's why. That's why I'm asking the question. Does hip hop actually reflect our reality? Because they're gonna snitch. These guys are not about that life. Hell, I don't want to go to prison, right? That's because
man, not the community. We had one guy. We had Tekashi 6ix9ine come out here and snitch. Over the years, you have never seen no artists come out here and snitch. They just did their time, and they, you know what I'm saying? Because
It's not.
Nah,
they knew what they signed up for. What?
I'm
Who else
them
came out snitching?
jokers been snitching. Them jokers been snitching.
Who?
Let me tell you something. If the feds are pulling you in and you're only getting 5 or 10 years, it's because you snitched. You ain't finna just get off like that, especially if you getting caught up with all this foolishness. Look at the RICO cases they put on YSL.
I
Yeah.
think that's bigger. I think that's bigger than what Diddy got going on because
but
that's actually the rap culture.
that's
That's the
definitely
community.
out.
You know what I'm saying? They using his rap lyrics against him.
Yeah.
Right,
I mean,
right.
but if
So
you yourself,
But
I'm just saying.
you know
I'm
what?
just saying.
Wait, hold on. When hip hop came out and it got going and it wouldn't go away, like I say, hip hop and rap, it was kind of like crack cocaine. Once it hits you, it's on. And
Right.
it's hard to break away from it. So you accept the good things from the hip hop community, and then you got to accept the negative things. And the negative things are a lot more detrimental because how much R&B and gospel and blues, how much of that type of music put young black men into the prison system?
I don't know.
Just that 10% that was already a criminal from the time they came out their mother's womb. But now, if you're gonna try to tell me, out of 100 black men that 70 or 80 of them are black criminals,
Gotta
I
hope.
have a problem with that. That is
What's
not
up,
true.
Swifty?
I think
Ah, so you gotta echo. You gotta echo.
We always got to echo with.
Grapevine. First off, let me say this to you real quick. Thank you for hopping on. I'm glad you found us. I don't know how you found us, but you did, and I hope this ain't the last time you're up here. I am not getting rid of you. I just wanted to thank you before.
and also put your info out there. Put it out there so we know how to link up with you and get
Of
back to you as well.
course. Thank you. I will do that right now.
No, we definitely appreciate it. Swift, what you got for us, bro?
He
You
trying
got
to
to be
take it.
quiet so Swift can actually talk, and we
Okay.
the echo. All right, my man.
Nah, hey, good evening, everybody.
Hey.
It's a lot of things that have been said I wanted to comment on. So the first thing when you guys were talking about Diddy being locked up. So I used to work for the feds. But no. So at the federal system, when you get indicted, you have to either they look at, are you a risk of non-appearance, like are you going to show up to court, or are you a danger to the community? Those are the two things that the prosecution they have the AUSA they have to say, hey, this guy's too dangerous to be on the street because he can hurt somebody, etc. So that's what they use on Diddy, because once he turned in his passport, he's no longer a flight risk. They can say, hey, I'm one of the most visual people that you can see in the world, and you have my passport. I can't go anywhere. So that was out the window. What they got him on was the danger to the community once he called that lady 47 times, and they were trying to say he's so influential out here. This is why we got to deny him a bail. This is why he has to sit, because he's too powerful. So that's how the Fed system looks at it. Where like the state, a lot of times they put it just a dollar amount on it. I'm gonna give you a $500,000 bail, what have you, what not. But the feds look at, and that's how the Fed system look at it. So when they're saying it's just racism or black or what have you, it's not. So that's why certain people will get a bond and certain people don't. And it also depends on how they bring you into the indictment. So if they indict you, or they bring you in on a complaint, or they bring you in on what's called an information, that plays a huge part in how the judge looks at it as well. Because they bring you on a complaint, that means that they don't take you to the grand jury. They just say, hey, this guy's such a danger, he has to get out. So like when that Boston bomber, when he blew up the race up there in Boston or what have you, they didn't have time to take it to a grand jury. They had to take it right to a complaint saying, we got to get him right now. So that's how they use it.
Rick, hold on, Mr. Swift.
Go ahead, Richard.
We all know, Mr. Swift, that black men, from the time we arrived over here, if you are a descendant of the enslaved African, I say if, for you, black men have always been being portrayed as being a danger to the community. So my question is, when you said that Mr. Combs called somebody 48 times, was that ever proven?
Yeah, they had the phone record.
Yes.
What you got to understand with the feds is, before you get indicted, they're ready to go to trial. That's the difference. Yeah. So they usually have audio and visual surveillance before they even indict you. So before you even see
Yes.
the feds, they already had her case. So they're already a leg up before the defense even knows about anything. So that's what I'm saying in terms of when you asking was that all proven, they already presented all the information to the judge already. Like the case agents have to get all that stuff signed by the judge once it goes to a grand jury or what have you to get a person indicted.
But Mr.
So they've
Swift,
already seen all this stuff.
but Mr. Swift, on the TV, they always tell us in all the channels that you can indict an ex-sandwich.
Yeah. Feds can get an indictment on anybody.
Okay.
If they want you, they can go to any grand jury and get an indictment. 1,000%. And when I worked for the feds, I only seen 2 people ever beat the feds. And when y'all
Because
talk
they got a
about
95% success rate.
right. The one dude I seen beat it, this guy, he was going across country. He was kidnapping prostitutes and doing some real bad stuff to them. They indicted him. He took it to trial and he beat it because most of the ladies that he was kidnapping, they had died or they couldn't find because they couldn't come to trial because they was in their lifestyle because they were prostitutes or what have you. So it's like only 2 people that I've ever seen even beat it. And the other dude, it was a technicality on something else or what have you. So to answer your question, yes, they got a 97% conviction rate. I don't see people beating. I've never seen anybody beat a racketeering charge. And the only people that I never saw that didn't snitch was people that was down with the cartels. They were the only people that never I saw, but all them other dudes.
Told y'all they snitches.
When we went to when I had to go to the training or wherever, they used to use some of these rappers. I won't say their names. They used to use these rappers' cases and in evidence when they're teaching us. When we're going through these classes, they're using these rappers' cases because what they do, people always talk about ain't no paperwork. They have this document called a downward departure. They don't ever talk about this, but it's a downward departure. So basically what happens is I go to court, I'm convicted, it looks like I'm doing all this time, then once I'm behind bars, I sign what's called a downward departure. So it looks like on paper, look, I did all this time, ain't no paperwork, but you inside the downward departure, and they file it under seal so nobody could ever see it. But no, these dudes be telling. Like, I just be like, that's a real thing. But so I just wanted to bring that up, But the other thing when y'all was talking about the whole Diddy situation in terms of Usher, that's why I was saying I disagree with you, Richard, in terms of like children can't consent. If you're an adult and you have all this leverage and all this power, like you're talking to Usher when he's 14. Yeah, that's a lot of influence. Like a child, I don't care how mature you are. I thought I was mature at 14, but you can't consent when you're dealing with a grown adult. My daughter is super, super intelligent.
So
but her talking to a 30-year-old man, there would be no match because she's still a minor, so she can't consent to that. So that's why you say when he got older, if I've been abused, if I've been hurt. Like I don't know what scars or what wounds I still may have, because even when the whole Diddy thing was coming out and they was trying to get all them other celebrities, it kind of goes back to the point I think Jig said, or maybe Boss Dog said it. You didn't hear a lot of people coming out talking about, well, my grandfather did this or my uncle did this. They was just talking about the celebrity because those people are still kind of close to home. So that's what I'm saying with trauma. You just never know how it affects people. If you think about, if they say 1 in 4 women have had some type of sexual assault cases, that means most of our sisters, a lot of our sisters, aunties, or what have you, and they've never talked about it. So just think about how grandma and them and how it was going on back then. So that's why I'm saying when you was talking about it, if you say Usher should have done more, the person who's to blame is the person that victimized them. So we don't want to say the victim.
Well, hold on, Mr. Swift.
Go ahead.
At age 14, you're right legally. I'm saying once he turned 21 and he knew what he had gone through, it's time to walk away from Mr. Combs. But he continued to have a close collaboration and still go to his parties. So in other words,
let me put it like this, right? If you grow up in a dope house and you grew up with pimps and prostitutes, that becomes your norm.
That's what you
That is
know.
your. It's an
Right.
abnormal thing on the outside, but to you in that situation, especially being developed in it as a child, that's your norm.
Mhm.
You don't realize how abnormal it is until you see something else, right?
If you get
And
abused in the household.
yeah,
Hold on.
because that's
Go ahead,
See,
Jay.
that.
I mean, go ahead, Jay.
I'm agreeing because that's you. That it's we are even as adults today. We're looking back at things that happened to us when we were younger, and we're still trying to figure our way out of that maze in a
Right.
lot of situations because
well,
we realize at this age that these things were abnormal. They're not normal activities or behaviors that we were exposed to.
well, hold on. Wait a minute. If you were talking about someone else, I would agree. But in Mr. Usher's case, he came from a good family. He can't sing that same tune. But I want to ask Mr. Swift this question. Mr. Swift, if you had a school child and your child was killed in school by a school shooter, another child, would you hold that child's parents responsible for that child shooting the school? Because
Yeah.
now they're holding parents responsible
Yeah.
for what their
Yeah.
kids do. So I'm just wondering about that. Because if that's the case, if you would hold that child's parents responsible, then my question is, Mr. Usher's mom and dad, when you sent your child and did the release form up to live with Mr. Combs, was you checking up on your child to make sure your child was safe? Because if you didn't, you should be held responsible for it.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you, Richard. I'm more like I always say, even when music or movies, I'm more of an influence to my kids than any rapper can be, than any TV could be, because I'm present. I'm engaged with my kids, and so I'm constantly trying to teach them what have you. Don't mean they're not going to make mistakes. Don't mean they're not going to do things that I haven't asked. But if I teach love and I teach compassion and I'm transparent in my home, then I'm not teaching my kids. I'm role modeling and showing them that. So I got all the influence on how they go out and how they present themselves out to the world. So yes, if a parent is teaching this or preaching this or showing them this, then yeah, they got to take some type of culpability to it. But in terms of my kids, no, it's certain people in my family I'm not letting my kids go to because I already know. So even when you talk about, in families, how can this still happen? You still be around. We know people right now that's in our family that could be harmful, and they still at the Thanksgiving dinner. We don't be like, no, I ain't going to Thanksgiving dinner because blah, 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 blah. You be like, nah, but you might go be like, no, I'm making sure, hey, where the kids at? Because we not going to let them go, right? So it's kind of like James was saying, this is so ingrained into our culture, and it just comes back, usually talking about slavery, when you think about how we were looked at like animals, and they used to breed us. And I could be married to somebody on a plantation, they just come and take my wife and go breed her with somebody else because they wanted, her to have babies by somebody that may be bigger or stronger, or what have you. And so we weren't looked at as humans or what have you. And so imagine being on the
We
plantation
got you back.
and I'm married and somebody come and take my wife right next door and they take advantage of her and they come back. Think about that dynamic.
Well, hold
Like,
on. Well, since you
right. So it's messy. So our brains have been
well,
like,
wait a minute. If you say that, you go into one of the horrors of slavery in America. When you say that, how many times has a black man been accused of a sexual crime that he did not do? So I
Yeah,
have it
yeah.
in my family. So, on one hand, we want to make people responsible for the evilness that they do. Men in America do not have a good track record when it comes to treating women. But on the same hand, the court system doesn't have a good track record on convicting innocent black men for crimes they didn't commit, and now they get exonerated after 25, 30 years.
Yeah,
So
and
okay, sorry.
no, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
So when black people say, well, P. Diddy, all this stuff I'm hearing, you got to be guilty. Well, wait a minute.
Thanks, Grapevine. We appreciate you.
When you
Absolutely.
say
Thank you very
that,
much.
thank you. And so when you say all that, on one hand, but then on the other hand, you say we don't get treated fairly in court. Well, how can we get treated fairly in court when you've already convicted Mr. Combs on allegations before he even has his trial in court?
Because when court come up, and you're gonna see it, When court come up, Diddy gonna have a jury of his peers.
Okay.
Us, we don't have a jury. No, he has the income. That's what I'm telling you. He has the income to have a jury of his peers. as an average black male, me and you, Rich, day to
Right.
day, we
Right.
don't get a jury of our peers. That's what
Okay.
goes down in the court of law. That's what you speaking on.
I,
But he is bigger than the community. That's
I,
what I'm telling you. He's
I,
bigger than the community, so
I
he's
tell you
gonna have
what.
a
I tell
jury
you
of his
what.
peers.
When they have that voir dire to select those jury, let's see. Should be 12. Let's see out of that 12 if you have at least 4 African Americans. Let's see. I want to see it.
So
Well,
what African Americans you want to see? You want to see some wealthy African Americans, or you want to see some poor African Americans?
I want to see African Americans who are unbiased, who can make a fair determination with all the evidence, whether you're wealthy or whether you're poor, as long as you're unbiased, you haven't already formed an opinion, because we know that this is a live stream. And I don't know if Mr. Swift is in New York and he's a voter, a registered voter, and he could be possibly called into that jury. So I don't want to affect him one way or another.
So if he has more black jurors on his panel,
Mm-hmm.
do you think he'll get off?
No, I cannot say that, because we know that black people can make decisions without being based on race.
I was just asking because that's why I was asking for is like the wealth of
Because
being poor.
Well,
and
because
being-
they say the reason why we don't want to put black people on the jury is if the person's black, well, then they'll let them off. But that's a false premise. They've never been able to prove that. But since we're on a live podcast that could be looked at, reviewed, and anybody on this podcast could be a possible jury
oh
member,
no, I'm not
we
going
are
to be nobody.
unbiased.
Don't I made too much money at work and sit down there and do that jewelry stuff. You hear me? Hey, they can keep that.
They can't pay me $12.
I would keep. Hey, I
So
tell you,
living
no.
in this great country, and we've gotten the right to vote in this country, knowing how our people got over here, and you're a registered voter, one of your obligations is if they contact you to go to be possibly selected for a jury, you should honor that and feel that everything that our ancestors went through, they had to fight for to give us this privilege.
I have for 27 years on Monday fulfilled my obligation to this country.
It doesn't stop there. It doesn't. From one veteran to another, it doesn't stop there. You have to vote because the Democrats tell you if you don't vote, you're throwing the country away. The Republicans say the same thing. But outside of voting, when you're a registered voter, that means you have the possibility of getting a jury summons them in the mail to be selected to possibly serve on a jury to carry out the laws of this land. And we need every person, regardless of their race, their sexual orientation, their religion, how they got here, as long as they're here legally, if they're a registered voter, we need everyone to participate in the democratic process of this great country with its character flaws.
Yeah,
Y'all got it. Y'all
podcast. The three of us are definitely with elections. You know what I'm saying? If we speak on it on a local level, you know what I'm saying? Because we feel like the local level affects everything.
And it does.
You know what I'm saying? So we do our judges, we do our
sheriffs,
the
councilmen,
sheriff,
so on.
I was thinking of everybody that's in office right now. We do that.
If the three of you represent a certain percentage,
That's what we do.
if the three of you represent a certain percentage of Black America who don't want to serve on juries, I'm going crazy. Because if I'm
Final thoughts. Let's get to final thoughts.
I remember a while back, I was called to jury duty 3 times. 3 times every year. And then eventually I went down there and they put me on a case.
Yeah.
Case.
I'm with you, girl. I'm with you, girl. I've been there several times. I've been the floor lead. The youngest guy, I was the youngest guy out of 12 of us. I was the youngest guy out of 12 of us, and I was the floor lead. You see what I'm saying?
And how'd the verdict come out?
Not guilty.
And you listen to the law, listen to the facts, the evidence, and y'all made a great decision.
And it was a sexual harassment case that I was on. So
okay,
no more.
listen. Whether you want to vote Democrat or Republican, I don't care how you vote. As long as you vote in this great country, as long as you serve on your jury pool and do your civic duty, considering how we got here, that's
Yeah.
amazing. That's amazing.
Wanda, what was
That's
you saying? I want to hear the rest of this story.
Now I went in because I wasn't trying to get picked. I wanted to go back to work. $12 an hour compared to what I was making at work. I mean, $12 a day compared to what I was making at work. An hour was not even that. So I went in. Okay. So I went down there for 2 days for jury selection. I was trying to this is before I had my it was before I had my locks. I went out there made sure my afro was big, pro black, everything, so these people would not pick me.
Why?
Because I did not. Like I said, I made $12 a day compared to what I was making an hour was not working out for me. If they would
she didn't want to snitch.
make it worth their while, I'm just gonna say it. But anywho,
Who your wrist to flip the table over? I'm just talking stuff, bro. I'm just talking stuff. I can't speak for one. I'm just talking stuff.
get out of it because one, I didn't want to be down there. Two, financially it wasn't getting me to where I needed to be. I had a wedding coming up. I needed to pay for it. All that other stuff. But anywho, I go down there, like I said, super pro flag, make sure my afro was out like big. I always wore every African print shirt I had kente cloth skirts on, going
So
down
you
there.
can be biased, huh?
So they wouldn't pick me. So I was like, they call me jury, whatever, number. Have you ever been convicted? Have you ever been in jail? No, I have not. Have you ever been arrested? No, I have not. You never been arrested? I told you, no, I have not. Not even for a traffic ticket. No, I have not. Do you trust the police? No, I don't. And they was like, okay, you may be seated. I'm like, oh, okay. So I go out. They like, we'll be calling in our jurors, in a minute. So we go out, lunch break, an hour. We come back. They like, these jurors, please stay. Everybody else dismissed. Second to last number they called was mine. I was like, mother. I was like, are you kidding me?
You don't understand how important it is that you were selected.
I do.
If you ask 7 out of 10 black men, have you been arrested? Yes. You have a conviction? Yes. Do you trust the police? Yes, I do trust the police.
Yeah, I trust them motherfuckers to do what they're gonna do.
I trust the police. I believe in our court system. But Mr. Brown, don't you have a misdemeanor and a felony? Yes, I do. But Mr. Brown, shouldn't you hate America? I do not. But Mr. Brown, aren't you real pro-black? Didn't we hear you on a social media going off about racism? Yes, you did. But you still believe in the country? Yes, I do, sir. And I was going to die for her. See, there's something about African Americans when you go to those jury summons and they ask you questions. This is when you reach into your African dignity and you go into your Oscar-winning African American performance to survive in this country. Because I can guarantee you, those outside the community, they'll sit there and give them all the correct answers. I guarantee you that.
Well, I got picked anyway, so it didn't work. It was very, and they were like, do you know any cops? I was like, I know several. And it just happened to find once we got into the case and they started showing evidence and stuff, I was like, yeah, I know that cop. So, but yeah, the lawyer, it was a mess, and the case the guy ended up being found not guilty.
I want y'all need to remember this when they pick this jury, and I'm hoping there's at least 4 African Americans for racial diversity. I'm hoping. I don't think you'll get 4 African Americans.
Well, we'll see. It's coming. I mean, I'm more so interested in what's going on with Trump's sentencing, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah,
He'll get off.
Final thoughts.
He'll get off.
Final thoughts.
Moving on over. Yeah, we got to get final thoughts in. We starting.
Yeah.
I'm starting to go long.
Get final thoughts, Jake. Go ahead, Jake.
Final thoughts. Let's see who's gonna be first up.
We here. I trust the police. But like Rich, you said, the political system is so corrupt, it's dangerous. And they control the police force. So you look at all our congressmen, all our public defenders, all our district attorneys.
Petey
They
said, "What?
they are a part of the political system. In the community, we don't say ish.
Come on.
We just let that shit ride. That's what we do in the community. Don't nobody want to be a snitch. Don't nobody want to be informing. Don't nobody want to be this and that. We just do what we do to get by as abiding citizens, everyday abiding citizens. A lot of us are still waiting on apologies from our aunties, our grandmothers, our uncles, our aunts. We still waiting on them apologies. You ain't never gave them their flowers while they was here, so you lose your chance on it. Final thoughts, bro. I'm done, man. Like
All
we
right,
gotta
because
do better as a community. We gotta do better as a community. That's all I'm saying.
I agree. Swift, you up next? Final thoughts.
He like me?
No, my computer keep glitching, and I was working doing some stuff. No, final thoughts. No, I think it's a great platform. Glad y'all talking about some great topics. I guess the only thing I guess my final thoughts is as it relates to just the celebrity, music, etc. I just challenge us to be influences to our kids because there's a lot of things that's out of our control. We can't control how moral people are. We can't control any of those things. Like we can't account. Change is an inside job, so we can't make people see what they don't want to see or change what they don't want to change. But I think it is important, as y'all kind of talked about, voting, being active. But main thing is, how we treat our kids, how we treat our families, because that's one of the most important things. I always talk about generational wealth and all those things, but generational love is more transferable. So even when y'all talk about who's going to go to, as a parent, I'm not letting my child stay at nobody's house, Puff Daddy, any of those guys. No, I'm there. I'm a parent. My guards are up. My awareness is up. So I just continue to challenge parents to be the biggest influence in their kids' lives, knowing they're going to make mistakes because we're all human, but continue to love them and shower them with that versus leaving them to the music to dictate kind of how they move. It's like, no, I want to be like this because this is what my dad represented, this is what my mom represented, this is what grandma represented, not what, Puffy or Diddy or any of them guys. A lot of them celebrities, and I met a lot, I'm sure we all have, they like real immoral, like, and they just be about vanity and finances. But for real, like a lot of them, it just be weird to me because my core values are different. And I like money, don't get me wrong, but at the same time, I ain't selling my soul. Like I'm good. Like God has blessed me. I don't have to have 10 billion to be like, now I made it. No, I made it because I got peace in my household, and this is the peace I work for. Because a lot of times growing up, it was chaotic. So that's my final thought.
I can dig it. Wan.
My final thoughts, as far as tonight goes, keep your family business off the internet. Everybody don't need to know you like that. We don't care. Honestly, we got our own issues we got to deal with. Deal with your own stuff in your own time inside your own house. We don't need to know everything that's going on in your business. Also, ladies, get your licks back. Cardi, if ain't nobody showed us, Cardi showed us. Get your lick back, ladies. Okay? And also, as always, oral health is overall health. Don't forget to brush and floss. Those are my final thoughts.
Rich, what you got?
Oh, I love that oral. Okay. First, I believe in Mr. Combs' innocence. Allegations don't prove anything until they're proven in court. Second, we need to hold everyone accountable. If this truth about Mr. Combs is true, then everyone who participated, everyone that knew, that didn't say anything, you must hold them accountable. And so, as Mr. Swift says, that down departure, I don't want to hear about that after this court, about down departure, how someone was told to get 20 years and then he only really got 5 years. I wish we could put a video camera inside that courtroom. Third thing, America has a history of injustice against black men regarding sexual allegations. From the time it started, you don't even go back to Emmett Till. You can come a lot sooner. In these last couple of years, you've seen black men getting off death row because they allegedly did something sexual, or no, not sexual, but murder, and they were innocent the whole time. So this idea of quickly judging somebody without hearing the evidence, and even when you hear the evidence, these black men were still found guilty because they withheld evidence that would have showed or shown that they were innocent. So this idea of trusting the courtroom in America, the greatest country on earth, even with its character flaws and its foundation, we still have a ways to go. I'm done.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you, Richard.
Right on. First off, let me say thank you for the new guests and everybody that hopped up on the panel. It's always a pleasure. All right. This space is our space, and we will always make it a space available for everybody who wants to say what they want and need to say. We're not going to block, ban, or censor you. We're here for the discussion. Just know it's our space, but it's not a safe space because there are some times where people are going to give pushback. And the only way to grow is to struggle with some of the things that we say and we think. There are various different ways and shapes, forms, fashions of us progressing forward, as long as we are all progressing. And that's the hope that we do, is that we progress forward together and we become better for not just our households, our families, but our community and the world at large and as a whole. Hip hop, our music has affected and influenced everything globally. Even before it started making money, we were here. And we should take that as a responsibility and do better. And with that, we should also reflect better in our lives. Take responsibility for what we can, grow and become better people. You know, like Dirt said, love your family, one time for the one time. And those are final thoughts. So, getting back to the correct panel in pain, as always, we would like to thank,
As a black man, I feel we are feared, we are scarred, but at the same time, we are always strapped. So you gotta take that in context.
Absolutely.
Think on that. Yeah, think on that. That's the community on. That's my perspective on the community. I'm feared, I'm scarred. I know I have a lot of going against me, but at the same time, I'm strapped. Because at the same time, I'm more likely to get killed by someone that look like me versus a politician or anyone else.
We got to deal with that.
So I'm gonna leave that there.
Yeah, right on, cuz we gotta deal with that for sure. For sure. But as always, you all could have been anywhere else in the world, but you decided to hang out with us, and we absolutely appreciate that. So with that said, God bless and good night. Onion already sleeping. Well, good night, y'all.
Appreciate you. We love you coming on, and we love the information, the knowledge, and everything. Appreciate it.
You know what? I don't know if is Mr. Swift still there? Is he gone? He's gone. See, I'm still fighting in court on my own right now. And when I talk about racism and stuff, I'm not talking like from a distance. I'm telling you what I've gone through. And I know the portrayal of black men and women in this country. So even though I may not know all the hip hop songs and all of this and that, when it's showtime, find out who's coming to help you.
So when it's showtime, are you looking for a jury of your peers, or are you looking for?
Listen, Mr. Combs is in jail. He doesn't know.
He got a different platform than you. That's why I was asking about.
Yeah, but not really. Because
as a black man, okay.
No, not really, because he's still black. And this is how the system kind of lets you know that even though you may have a lot of money, if you're black, you're not going to get out of the same stuff that a white person's going to get out of. But for a lot of successful black people, they don't want to hear that. OJ was really an exception to the rule, but they still caught him on the civil case.
Jay-Z.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where it gets complicated. If you guys say, listen, Mr. Combs is wrong, he's got to go to jail. But now all these other people, if they all have to go to jail too, you sure? You sure you want Beyonce up in jail? Are you sure about that?
B ain't going to jail. But
Hey, look at this.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Hey,
so
look at
she
this.
gets a different kind of justice than P Diddy get it. See, this is the funny thing about accountability. So you said, well, you know, P Diddy, you out of control, you did all that stuff wrong, bad boy, we got to send you away. Well, wait, Beyonce was there? Okay, wait a minute. Let's think about this. See, I'm already thinking about the rest.
We're gonna have to talk about this later, y'all. So
Rich, we got okay. That'll be our next topic. Being held. So we talked about hip hop community. What about being held accountable in your community? You know what I'm saying? Because what he's speaking on, like, yeah, if I go down, like he's saying, Diddy gonna tell on everybody because he's a billionaire guy. He's not that slum guy that's looking out for. That's what I'm saying. It's levels to this shit. Just what I was talking about, generations. Like we got different generational.
Listen to this. I live in a city where there's a certain person who looks like us.
Yeah.
He did a lot of stuff and got away with it. But he had those billionaires pulling for him. But he got away with his stuff.
Yeah.
And you just don't see people of color. I'm gonna stop talking because we live.
We're not going. We ain't gonna hit.
I'm gonna leave it on this too. OJ had the dream team. That's what they in history as lawyers and as a case file. They named them guys the dream team. The only other dream team I remember is Jordan Magic and them boys, Bird and all them boys going to the Olympics and doing their thing as the dream team. You see what I'm saying?
Let me talk about this court system. The court system says they hold people accountable. No, they don't. And you'd be surprised how certain, quote, people outside the community who you would think was really racist, how certain black people got favor from these white people. I'm going to stop because I know everything we do on video can come back. They can
white people ain't going to talk about they ain't going to talk about you know what I'm saying, the Italians, the Greeks, the Israelis, whoever you think about as far as European or whatever, they're not going to talk about that. Our community does. And I'm finna go.
Hey,
that's I know Polar, we ain't seen him all night. He said his dad is sick and ill. We wish the best for you and your family. And
I didn't see that.
Yeah, send the love for sure. If there's anything that we can do, I know we're 1,000 miles away, but we will definitely do our best.
So when's the next podcast? When's the next one?
Friday, bro.
Next Friday? Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Wednesdays and Fridays now, I guess.
Well, you didn't do one. You didn't do one Wednesday night because you said you didn't do one.
No, because I got my kids.
Oh, okay.
We did the
I did the debate. We did the debate. They did the debate.
See, I didn't want to. That was Tuesday night, right? Y'all did the thing Tuesday night for the debate, yeah. And I was watching the debate, but the country's so split on that. You can vote for lying and just vote.
Yeah. So.
Like you say, politics.
We gonna try to get, God bless and good night.
Good night. Good night, everybody. All right.